Welcome to another edition of The Wise Guy. You know me, The Wise Guy. I'm your host, Jim Tedesco. And the topic today is I'm pissed. To find out why I'm pissed, you know what to do. Stay tuned after the break.
Sit tight, the wise guy will return shortly.
Alright, I'm back. Today is Friday, August 21st, 2026, the year of our Lord. You know, I'm just pissed. Pretty much about everything. I'm pissed about the Florida primary elections. Pissed about the government always lying to us. I'm just plain pissed. And I read the news every morning. I pick up, I wake up, I turn on the computer, I start reading MSN. And the stories are it just amazes me. And nobody seems to give a shit. I guess we've all been conditioned to the point to where we think everything is normal. It's not, no matter how you look at it. Yeah. The news stories are they're outrageous, some of them. And of course, I've noticed too that MSN especially brings up old stories from years ago to sensationalize them and make us believe that this just happened, even though it didn't. Yeah. There was a story about a pro wrestler killed his family and then himself. It happened in 2004. That was a long time ago. It's got nothing to do with today, but it just a psyop going, I guess you could call it, where people see, oh my God, another crazed wrestler just killed his family and then himself. And it makes it sound by the headline that it just happened. And you have to read the whole story, which is a bit lengthy, to find out that it actually happened back in '04. And you're reading very old news. It's ridiculous. And this is the kind of things that just pisses me off, Then there's another instance that happened, I guess, yesterday. A 19-year-old black woman was caught shoplifting at Walmart, manages to get out of Walmart. She goes to this is in Georgia, goes to a gas station, I guess to fill up. The cops tracked her down there, right? Well, the one cop, gets up to her and says, ma'am, shut your car off and step out. We need to talk to you. She throws it in drive and takes off. The cop's hanging on for dear life on the side of the car. He can't hold on much longer. She almost sideswipes the truck. Would have been on his side, would have probably killed him. But he anyway fell off, got scraped up, and I don't think he had any broken bones, but, got bumped up pretty good. And of course they got her again a few hours later at her house. Now, this is becoming commonplace. And I really hate to seem to come across as a fucking racist. But the bottom line is, you look at the news every day, and you're going to see at least half a dozen blacks committing some crime somewhere to someone. Now, the black guy walking down the street sees a white woman, an old white woman, and cold cocks her in the face and knocks her out. No reason, just because she was there. Yeah, a 12-year-old shot a 13-year-old. I don't remember where it was at, and they were both black, Why would a 12-year-old even have access to a gun? Not that, but how did he even know how to use it? and he shot and killed the 13-year-old. I didn't read the story because there's no point in it anymore, you know, because it's like an everyday occurrence. And I'm getting pissed off. I see another story where Nick Shirley, you know, the guy that reported on all the fraud up in Minnesota, he's down at the southern border in Nevada. And he says he's filming it. People are coming through by the dozens, illegals. He flags down an ICE guy, you know, Border Patrol. And the Border Patrol says, yeah, it's not your problem, don't worry about it. And lets these people in. So we're being lied to once again. We're not actually closed the border. You know, and I'm sick and tired of the fucking government lying. Every time their lips move, a lie comes out of it. I mean, absolutely. Oh, we got the border under control. We've had 0 border crossings since we built the fence, you know, the wall. No, you haven't. You know, they're still bringing them in. Then you've got Catholic Services and some other group. They're NGOs, you know, non-government organizations. They're facilitating it. Why are they not getting arrested? Why are their camps not being burnt to the ground? You know, Nick Shirley stumbled onto a Catholic Services camp, some makeshift camp with tents and food and clothing and water and all kinds of other crap, to facilitate the illegals. If I were in charge, I'd burn that thing to the ground, you know. And arrest the people responsible for it. But nothing's getting done. We're being lied to. You know, there's 50 million illegals in this country. We're not deporting them, we might be deporting a handful, but the majority of them are still here. I have a friend down in Naples, Florida, said they haven't arrested one illegal in Naples since Trump started his campaign to remove the illegals. Not one. I live in Sebring, Florida, and we don't really have an illegal problem here, at least not that I'm aware of. You know, and then you got all the homeless people all over the place. So how do they handle? Oh, we're going to make homelessness illegal. Yeah, that'll fix it, won't it? So they'll become homeless to fucking jailbirds. Because they have to arrest them, you know, because it's illegal to not have a home. Instead of saying, well, why don't we make homes affordable for some of these people so they won't have to be homeless? I mean, a good majority of them are, you know, drug users and other derelicts of society. And jail is too good for them anyway. And there's other ways that need to be dealt with, which I won't speak of. Use your imagination. But for the good people out there that just fell on hard times or were forced out of their homes by an out-of-control spendthrift government, then people need help. And what's our solution? We're going to arrest them for not having a home, even though we forced them out of the home they had. You know, there's something fucking wrong in this country. The evil that's happening in our very eyes, beneath our noses, is just outrageous. And it is evil. It's pure evil. Murders every day, like all over the place. Thievery everywhere. Businesses are stealing from their consumers, and then if the consumer complains, they throw them out of the store and ban them for life. You know, I don't know what the hell it's going to take for the people to stand up and do something. And I'm not, you know, promoting violence or anything, but, you know, look, yeah, if we can't win at the ballot box, you know what the other box needs to happen. The politicians are lying their asses off You know, and I personally think that the Florida primary election is rigged. How the hell a black criminal becomes a governor, or at least in the running for governor, is beyond me. I haven't spoke to anybody yet that liked the guy. Didn't see any of his signs anywhere. Everybody was promoting either Fishback or Collins. The race should have been between them two. Instead, they both lost and lost bigly. There's something wrong here. It's rigged. It's gotta be. When you're willing to put a criminal, an ex-con, in the governor's seat, you know there's something wrong. It's gotta be rigged. All right? And I've said it before, and you can call me a racist all you want. I don't fucking care. There's no such thing as a black man in a position of authority that does not abuse that authority. It happens every single time. And Donald's will be no different. He'll run Florida to the fucking ground, sell it to the highest bidder, and walk away a rich man, as corrupt as he is. And data centers are going to keep popping up all over the place. We have a water shortage in Florida, but no, let's build more data centers because, you know, they'll want to use what's left of the water supply. And it won't matter because, you know, data centers are more important than the actual people. Yeah, and then the flock cameras. They're trying to convince us that it's a good thing. It's not. A surveillance society is never going to be a good thing no matter how you look at it, because men in general are not honest. Or, I mean, you know, mankind isn't, not necessarily just men, but we've had cops abuse the system, tracking and harassing ex-wives, ex-girlfriends, women they're interested in, you know, and I'm sure it goes a lot further than that too. I'm sure they're, you know, they got a bone up their ass about somebody, they'll start surveilling him and wait for him to screw up, you know. It's bullshit. Whatever happened to good old-fashioned police work? You know, that's how you catch the bad guy. And then when they do catch the bad guy, they don't even do anything to him. Oh, we'll give him a couple years in prison. That'll fix him right up. He gets out, commits another crime, possibly worse than the one he was originally busted for. And the door revolves again and again and again. How many chances does somebody need before we, the people, figure out they're not, you know, I don't know what the word is. They're not useful to society or beneficial to society. You know, you got criminals that are out on the street that have been in jail 70, 75 times. Listen, if you don't get your shit together after the second time, you're not going to. And really, you shouldn't even get that. It should be after the first time. Anybody that a repeat offender should be immediately executed, period. Because at some point, they're going to get to the point where they're going to take someone's life, and who's really to blame for that? Yeah, the asshole judge that kept letting them out, or the police that didn't pull his gun when he needed to. Yeah, there's something wrong here. And it's not getting any better. It's literally getting worse. Then you pick up the newspaper and says, you know, scientists are predicting the next mass extinction will happen very soon. Well, at the rate we're going, we'll kill ourselves. We don't need a mass extinction. It'd be more like a mass murder or mass genocide, you know, because our society is devolving. Not getting better, it's getting worse. And the main culprit's the government, because they started it. They started with their lies, their cheating, their stealing. And they're killing too. Government's responsible for every ill in society. And for all you trying to people, well, how do you figure that out? Well, because we look up to the government for guidance. Even if we don't do it consciously, we do it subconsciously. And when we see our government leaders stealing, cheating, murdering, we're thinking, in our brains, we're saying, well, it must be okay because, they're doing it. And while a lot of us won't ever, devolve to that level, but many will. Right now we have two major problems in this country. Government deceit and the blacks being out of control, or a more racist way to put it, they're getting a little uppity. You call it whatever you want, but the fact remains, black on white crime and black on black crime and black on everything crime is through the roof. It ain't the whites doing this, not even the Hispanics doing it. Definitely not the Asians, it's the blacks. We have a black problem in this country and we need to fix it fast. How do we fix it? Well, there's several ways. We could kill the bad ones, or we could deport all of them and be done with it. Well, except for the good ones. I'm not going to blanket say all blacks are bad, because they're not. Unfortunately, whether it's a minority or majority, they need to go. And we need to stop cutting them slack, man. But black man, that kid that killed the white kid, what the hell is his name? I can't remember his name now. Carmelo Anthony. Yeah, he killed the white kid in the tent at a school event. Went to court, was found guilty, sentenced to 35 years or 32 years, which was a joke. He took a wife, he should have to surrender his own, and a week later. They appealed it and they're getting a new trial. The kid admitted he killed the white kid. Yeah, I did it. I killed him, but it was in self-defense. No, it wasn't. There are basic rules for self-defense. You didn't meet any of those rules. You killed that white boy in cold blood because you wanted to. And then after you did it, you think, oh man, that's probably not a good idea because I'm going to go to jail now. But then you play the race card. Well, it isn't fair. I didn't have a jury of my peers. They were mostly white on the jury. It don't matter what color they are. Put 12 Asians on there. They'll get the same conclusion. 12 Mexicans, same conclusion. 12 blacks, well, probably not because, they think it's okay to kill whitey. It doesn't matter though. You admitted to it. If I were the judge, I couldn't do it, but in my fantasy world, if I were the judge and did you do it? Yes, sir. Boom! I'd have took him out right on the spot. All right, justice served. Next case. That's what needs to happen. 35 years for killing somebody? Well, it wasn't premeditated. It don't matter. The kid is dead. There's no stages of dead. You either are or you aren't. So how could there be stages for murder? There is, unfortunately, first degree, second degree, manslaughter, aggravated manslaughter, all this bullshit. And they got like 35 definitions of murder. Is the victim dead? Yes, sir. Well, then that's all that matters. There isn't 35 ways of dying, or 35 definitions of death, rather. You're either dead or you're not. I don't care if you planned it, you did it by accident, or you didn't really want to kill him, but you accidentally kill it. Don't matter. He's dead. You don't come back from that, as a rule. Why does this guy get a second trial? It's going to turn out the same as the first one. They're going to find him guilty. Maybe they'll sentence them to life. Hell, maybe they'll give them the death penalty, I hope. You know, and wouldn't that be a kick in the ass, huh? I beat the first case, but now they're going to kill me. Well, that would serve your ass right, and you shouldn't have to wait 20 or 30 years for that sentence. It should happen a couple of days after the trial. All right, you had your trial, you were found guilty, now you get to die just like you fucking killed an innocent victim. And this is happening not just with him, but all over the place. You know, now, it's not really good news, but I'm going to call it good news. They've been finding a lot of black women hanging from trees. You know, getting lynched. The blacks are all freaked out. Oh, yeah, they're lynching us blacks. Well, what the fuck did you expect was going to happen when you're basically killing the whites? Did you think we're just going to say, well, you know, we deserve it because, you know, we enslaved you 400 years ago? It don't work like that. You know, you're getting a taste of your own medicine. And I think there's 16 bodies so far they found hanging from trees. I believe they're all women. Now, why they're picking on women, I have no idea. Wife thinks it might be a serial murderer. Could be. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody should die needlessly, but, you know, in the big picture, y'all brought this on yourselves. Keep killing Whitey. See what happens. You think there's some of us out there that won't retaliate? I got news for you. You know. And I'm not promoting any of this or saying it's a good thing, but I do understand it. If one group starts killing off another group, you know, either the first group or another group is going to kill off the second group that was doing the killing. You know, called turnabout is fair play. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Hey, y'all brought it on yourselves. You know, you're a bunch of fucking animals, the ones that are committing these crimes. Not all blacks, but the ones committing these crimes. You're fucking animals. And you need to be put down like the animals that you are. I don't give a fuck if that pisses you off or not. It's the truth. And it really wouldn't matter. Even if y'all were white doing it, I'd say the same thing about the whites. There's no excuse for it. But the black man, for some reason, has no value on life. At least the majority of you anyway. And you don't have a problem with not only killing whites, but killing your own people. Black on black murder is more prevalent than black on white. That doesn't say much for your race, you know. Something has to be done. And I'm telling you, if the government's not going to do it, we the people will. I asked before in another video, where's all the vigilantes? They might have answered my call. I don't know. Yeah. But you know, when the law won't do its job, somebody else will, you know, fill that void. And I'm okay with that. Because I firmly believe if you kill someone in cold blood, you need to lose your life, and immediately. They're just talking about a guy who was in prison. I guess he just died. Was in prison for 70 years. He lived to be 101. We paid for that. You know, the taxpayers, the people that are going hungry, can't afford to keep our houses or pay our bills. We paid for some asshole that committed murder to live a comfortable life for 70 years in prison. And if that don't piss you off, I don't know what the fuck is your problem. They could have solved this issue 70 years ago, hung the motherfucker or electrocuted him or whatever, firing squad, and that would have been the end of it. Instead, we fed, clothed, and housed him for 70 years. It just doesn't make sense. We need a new law that basically states if you take a life and it ain't in self-defense, you forfeit your own. Period. And it don't take 20 years or 70 years or whatever to carry out the sentence. It gets carried out immediately. Say within 10 days. Unless, of course, there's extenuating circumstances where you can't actually prove you did it. If there's any doubt, I could see the jail time. But a lot of these guys confess. Especially like serial murderers and stuff. A guy killed 30 women, and they asked him, why'd you do it? Well, I didn't like women, Or, I don't know, but I did kill them. And they give him life imprisonment. Well, I could take him out back and put one in the back of his fucking head and be done with it. And at that point, you don't even need a trial. He admitted to it. Well, what if he lied? Well, if you lie about something like that and you wind up losing your life, that's on you, man. People admit to crimes, and then the court has to we got to prove that he's not lying. It doesn't matter. If you admit to something you didn't do, you suffer the consequences. Not our issue. Think before you speak. Like I said, Carmelo Anthony's the best example. Knifed the guy in the heart, killed him. There were witnesses. Then he ran away. When they finally caught up, he says, "Yeah, I killed the guy. That would have been it right there. If I'd have been a cop on the scene, I'd have pulled my 9 out and put one right in his fucking brain." Well, now you're fucking now the man you killed got true justice. It's, we better arrest him, take him to court, and, get him sentenced. Bullshit. There's something wrong in this country. Maybe the Muslims are right. Maybe we are the great Satan. I don't fucking know anymore. Don't really believe that, but But sometimes we act like it. There's so much evil in this country, and the government doesn't seem to have an issue with it. They think it's okay for them to lie to us. Of course, we lie to them, we go to prison, Oh, we're going to get you for contempt of court or for perjury because, you lied. Well, you lie to us every day. Well, that's different. No, it's not different. It's bullshit. It's like this crap with, I was watching another thing today, they're still arguing about whether we went to the moon or not. And one guy was saying, well, there's no way we went because you look at the lunar lander was a tinfoil plastic piece of shit, And it was. Ain't no fucking way that thing made it out there, landed on the moon, and then took off, and, it just didn't happen. So the other guy that was defending it says, oh, no, it was real. We can prove it's real. Well, technically you can't prove anything. Neither one of you can prove anything, really. But why do you keep harping on it? If it really happened, you should just sit back and go, yeah, believe what you want. We know it happened. We're done with it. But every few months, there's some crackpot saying that the moon landing was fake. We're going to prove them wrong. That old saying, no, thou protestest too much. That's NASA. And I mean, the very fact that they're protesting the protest proves that the whole thing was faked, as far as I'm concerned. If you have to keep going over and over and over again to try and prove something is real, it clearly is not. Same with the flat earth. Now, I'm a flat earther, okay? I'm not ashamed to admit it, because science, real science, shows that the earth has to be flat. The only way the earth can be a ball is if there's magic involved. And most of us don't really believe in magic, so, you know. And they're constantly, you know, somebody comes up and says, look, you know, I believe the earth is flat. Oh, we got to shut that guy down because he might actually convince everybody else the earth is flat. So right away, oh, it's a globe, it's a ball earth, it's a ball earth. Keep driving it home. Our protest is too much, proving that the earth probably is flat. They won't let anybody prove it, you know. It was a guy, it was, once again, an old story, but it was in the news today. I don't remember the guy's name, but he built his own rocket, a steam-powered rocket, got in it, and tried to get up high enough to prove that the earth is a plane. Well, he didn't make it, he died. But, you know, and they fought him every step of the way. He said, well, you can't fly up there. We're not giving you permission. Are we free men or not? We don't need permission to build our own spaceship and launch it. And if you think we do, then we're obviously not a free people. Wouldn't hurt nobody except himself. You know, that's what he wants to do. Let him do it. That's another. We don't have no real freedom in this country. A few weeks ago, I guess they were married, or maybe they're engaged. A woman and man climbed the Space Needle in, is that in Oregon or Washington State? I think it's in Oregon. I don't remember. Somewhere out in the Midwest, or Northwest. They climbed to the top of the Space Needle, and like exchanged vows or something, you know. Immediately got arrested. Well, you can't do that. That's illegal. Why is it illegal? They hurt anybody? Pretty sure they didn't. They hurt themselves? Obviously not. I mean, I wouldn't do something like that, but you know, if you want to do it, that's on you. And you know, even if you do die, well, you know, it's on you. Why is it illegal? Some years ago, there was a guy who used to call him Spider-Man. He scaled the Sears Tower, I think, in Chicago. I think that's the Sears Tower. They arrested him. That's illegal. You can't scale a tower. Why not? I mean, seriously, ask yourself this question. Why can't you do these things? There's no victim. And if you do get hurt or killed, well, that's on you, you know. And what happened? Well, I scaled up the building. You know, the guy scaled up the building, he fell and died. It's the government's fault. No, it's not. It's his fault because he was stupid enough to do it. It shouldn't be illegal. It's illegal to take your own life. I mean, if you succeed, there isn't much they can do about it. I've talked about this before. They do drag your corpse into the courtroom and say, Your Honor, this idiot killed himself. We want to put him in jail. Well, that's going to get pretty stinky after a while, isn't it? Why is it illegal to take your own life? If you're going to do it, you're going to do it. You know, murders are legal, but they still do it. So you think suicide being illegal is going to stop it? You know, I mean, it sucks that somebody would get to that point where they take their own life, but it's their choice. And if we live in a free society, you have to have that freedom to do that if you so choose. I personally don't believe in it. A lot of Catholics believe if you take your own life, you'll go straight to hell. It might be true, I have no idea. But it doesn't matter. If someone chooses that path, that's their right as a free individual. But it really isn't, because, you know, if you don't succeed, they're locking your ass up in the rubber room. It's not right, you know. Meanwhile, somebody goes out, kills a few people because they're pissed off at something, and they get a few years in jail, if even that. But we'll be quick as shit to lock up somebody tried to suicide themselves. Now, you see the problem with this? So you get more trouble for taking your own life, or trying to, than you do for taking somebody else's. There's something wrong with this picture. And I think I'm in the majority here for people that are pissed off. You know, I don't see how the average American can wake up every morning and not be pissed off. Especially when they turn on the TV or the internet. And you look at our entire culture is based on death. You know, turn on the TV, most of your shows, murder mysteries, cop shows where somebody dies, you know, gets killed. We are simply deluged with murder and death. You know, then they come up with these horror movies that find new and weird ways to kill somebody, you know. They don't even allow that shit in some countries. We shouldn't allow it here either. Yeah. We don't need to see somebody's guts hanging out after they've been ripped open with a sickle, you know. Or watch somebody's head get cut off and then the head rolls down there, blood squirt and all that. We don't need to see that. What purpose does it serve to show a scene like that? You know, I mean, it might give you nightmares, or eventually you'll grow immune to it. It's like, yeah, no big deal, you know. So if you see it in real life, it's like you won't freak out. The things that shouldn't be allowed are, and the things that should be allowed aren't. Talk about an upside down fucking world, right? The Bible say that? We treat good as bad and bad as good? Seems like we've been doing that for quite some time now. There should be limitations placed on what can be put on TV, what kind of songs can be sung. I mean, I know it's a double-edged sword, because, you know, they're saying, well, on the one side you're saying people should be free, but then you want to restrict certain things. Yeah, I know it does sound kind of fucked up, but there's common sense. There's a line there that says, okay, on this side of the line, you could do this, this, and this. On the other side of the line, that's not allowed. And the other side of the line is, you know, murder, depictions of murder, gruesomeness, immorality, you know. Those things should never come into the picture, because that's what a good civilization should regulate. You could still be a free society, but, you know, with rules. Because every good society should have some rules. Problem is, we've got more rules now than we have common sense. You know. Every time somebody does something, oh, we got to create a law against that, you know. We don't need to create a law. It happens, you know. If it becomes a problem, then yes, we create a law. Like you said, I once had a book on all the infractions you can get in the state of Florida when you're driving. The book was like this thick, you know. It was only about, it was a handbook style, but it still was small print. There was probably, a few 100,000 laws in there regarding driving your car. Remember the one law says it's illegal to coast down a hill with your engine off. Was this a problem? Was everybody doing it? And if they were, maybe we need to find out why and not necessarily make a law against it. But it is, in fact, against the law. It's also against the law to sit on the hood of your car while the car is driving down the road without a driver in control of it. So if you have a convertible and set the cruise control and step over the windshield and lay back on, on the windshield and the hood and say, yeah, just cruising. Was this a problem? I'm sure it happened once because they had to get the idea from somewhere. But I don't believe it happened routinely enough to make a law against it. Some of these laws are stupid. If by some miracle I became president, and that would take a miracle, and I'd probably become a dictator because I wouldn't put up with this bullshit. I'd have everybody arrested, arrest Congress, arrest the Senate, arrest the military, arrest them all, probably sentence them all to death for treason. But I would say, well, we don't need this shit. Shit can't every law in the books. I've been saying this for years. We only need a handful of laws. You kill somebody, you die. If you steal, we'll give you one chance. If you do it a second time, you die. If you rape a woman and we can prove it, you die. It should be simple and immediate. We probably have millions, literally millions of laws on the books in this country. There's no way you could actually, not break a law. And then, of course, ignorance is no excuse for breaking a law. Well, how could you not be ignorant when there's millions of laws? You couldn't memorize them. That'd be like memorizing every number in a phone book in a big city. I don't think anybody can do it. If there are, maybe one or two. Sure as hell wouldn't be the majority of the populace. Now, how could you memorize all those laws? There's some laws that are so stupid, you can go to jail for spitting on the sidewalk. Who came up with that law and why? And you gotta spit. What are you gonna do? Go look for a receptacle? If it's a problem, maybe we need to put up some receptacles for it. And it's always usually about money anyway, And that's another problem. Breaking the law should not cost you any money. It should cost you your freedom. Like I said, we don't want you speeding because we're concerned with your safety. No, you're not. You know we're going to speed. You want the money. If everybody out there is doing 80 and 90 on the interstate, maybe you need to make the speed limit 90 miles an hour. But no, you'd rather keep it at 70 knowing everybody's going to blow it, including the cops, so you can get the money. It's all about the money. It's not about safety. It's always about the money. Once again, that goes back to the government lying to us, Well, we're doing this for your safety. No, you're not. You're doing it for control and for money. The seatbelt laws are not about your safety. It's about control. So the big shots can sit in their office somewhere up in Washington saying, wow, we did a good job today. We forced everybody to wear a seatbelt. And if they don't do it, we'll get their money. You'll never hear them say, well, we did it because, it's safer for people, because there's no safety in stupidity. You can't legislate stupidity, obviously. So legislating a Band-Aid solution like a seatbelt won't fix the problem. Like I said, if anything, it might even exacerbate the problem. I've said this before. You know, people wear their seatbelts, they got their airbags, they got their insurance. They're covered, man. They're like, I can fuck up all I want because, you know, if I get in a wreck, the airbag and the seatbelt will save my life and the insurance will save my wallet. It's an excuse to drive badly, man. When you didn't have insurance, back when it was, you know, optional, and many of us didn't have it, and it was cheap, so it wasn't the money. I just felt it was a waste of money. And, you know, I was more aware of my surroundings when I was driving. I never got in any accidents. You know, because I knew if I did, I could be ruined financially. I'd get sued out of existence. You know. So, everything the government does is based on lies and greed and power. And we allow them to do it. You know, it's wrong. We need to stop it. You know. And they're so blatant about it now, they don't even try and hide it. You know. I said in my last video, I says, you know, I used to go on telling people, you know, I said, you know the difference between a Republican and a Democrat is, right? A Republican will fuck you in your bedroom. A Democrat will fuck you in the street in front of God and everybody. But you're still getting fucked by both parties. They just have different ways of executing it. Now the Republicans are as bad as the Democrats. They'll fuck you out in the street too. They just don't care. I mean, if you don't see that as a problem, well, I don't know what I can do for you. We need to crack down on the officials, the leaders. Hey, look, we want you to be honest. We don't just want you to be honest. We're going to force you to be honest. If you lie to us, we're going to go ahead and institute the death penalty. Because lying to the American people should be a capital offense. Spying on the American people should be a capital offense. Exercising any unnecessary or unnatural control over the American people should be a capital offense. You know what? Why don't you protect the country's borders by keeping the fucking illegals out, by not getting us involved in foreign wars, and by actually stimulating our own markets and our own economy, instead of what you're doing. What you're doing is wrong. And Trump, I voted for you 3 times. I thought you were the best president ever. I still do to a point, but you've been bought and paid for by you-know-who. And it sucks. And if you were going to run for a 3rd term, I would have voted for you, but not now. You can't be trusted. You were bought off. Maybe you were threatened. Maybe you're doing it to preserve your life. I don't know. But that's not an excuse. You're supposed to be the genius. Why haven't you figured this out yet? Why are you lying to the American people that the borders are closed when you know they're not? That we're spending money on things we shouldn't be. I mean, you know, what the hell, man? I still think you're better than most Democrats, but you're inching pretty close to being a Democrat again. I know you used to be one. Did you forget that you turned into a Republican? I don't know. Of course, I don't believe the Republicans are any better than the Democrats when you get down to it because, you know, the whole getting fucked indoors or outdoors. Something needs to change in this country, and it needs to happen now. We need a renaissance of what once was. This country used to be honest. Used to be for supporting all the rights for all the people. Justice was dispensed when it was necessary. And now none of that applies. It's all gone to shit. Instead, you're fighting about whether we have tampons in the boys' bathroom or not. And I'll tell you what, any politician that gets on TV and says we need tampons in the boys' bathroom better be ready to demonstrate how it works on live TV. Show me how you're going to use that tampon. The only place you can put it is up your ass, because you don't have the necessary equipment to put it anywhere else. And they should be forced to explain themselves by demonstration. Yeah. If men can get pregnant, show me an actual man with a baby in him. I'm also going to see how he delivers it too. Because, you know, once again, missing vital components. Stop bullshitting us. We're not buying it. Only the Democrats, because they're so brainwashed and stupid, they might buy it, but the rest of us aren't. Yeah, Florida's primaries demonstrated one thing. That Gen Z, you know, the useless ones, may be the best offspring since the boomers. They're returning to Christianity. They're returning to common sense, to honesty in government. That's what they're demanding. You had to know eventually you'd piss somebody off. They weren't going to take your shit anymore. Well, guess what? Looks like Gen Z might be it. Of course, you're desperately trying to turn Gen Z against the boomers and the millennials and the Gen Xers because you're scared to death of them. You should be. They may be the ones that actually lead the revolt against the government. It's starting to look that way. Hell, they're already calling for a revolution. You know, when you put a black con man criminal in the governor's seat in Florida, you got to expect some backlash. We all know how that's going to end. You know. And he's a New Yorker to boot, and an ex-Democrat. I mean, you got all the boxes checked on that one. But you forced him in there. You manipulated the vote. I don't know whether you outright rigged it, or you just rigged it psychologically. Probably that's the easiest explanation. So many people voted for him because they believed your bullshit. You basically canceled James Fishback and even Jay Collins. And we didn't hear a word out of it. Well, Fishback was doing his best to get the word out, but you know, you basically, when you reported on the candidates, you never mentioned his name. Well, you know, we got Byron Donalds, we got Jay Collins, we got Paul Renner. What happened to James Fishback? You don't mention him. That was done on purpose. You tried to cancel the man to make sure he'd never had a chance, even though I guarantee you he would have been the best thing for Florida. Instead, you give us a black con man, an ex-con. He's not even actually African American. I believe he's Colombian and something else. Married to a white woman. And you think that's the best choice for Florida? Yeah, my ass. You're obviously trying to take Florida down, probably in retaliation for the COVID extravaganza. And I guarantee you, Governor DeSantis ain't happy about it. When they interviewed him the other day, they asked him, I says, well, now that we've got a front runner for the governorship, are you going to endorse Byron Donalds? And he refused to answer it. He doesn't like Donalds. He came out and told everybody in the beginning he didn't like Donalds. He didn't feel he was right for Florida. My only beef with DeSantis is he should have endorsed Fishback. And he didn't. And they say he didn't want to endorse anybody because he's afraid it would piss off Trump. Fuck Trump. You know, I like President Trump, but you know what? If he's going to be that petty over another man endorsing somebody other than his pick, and so be it. It's not a big deal. And why did Trump endorse Donalds anyway? Once again, is he part of the scam? You know, President Trump kind of looks that way, don't it? I don't know what else to say. Except that I'm pissed. And I have even covered half the shit that I'm pissed about because this would be a 5-hour video if I did. And y'all would get bored after the first hour. All I'm saying is, Americans need to take a step back, gather our thoughts and our courage, and demand that we return to the government that the founders envisioned. And anybody who doesn't like it here has two choices. You can either leave, or we could bury your ass. Yeah, and one last thing before I write it, I almost forgot. Minnesota. I think is it Minnesota? No. It's one of the northern states. Connecticut, maybe? I think it was Connecticut. Actually introduced Sharia law. Are you out of your fucking minds? Where's the government putting a stop to it? If I were President Trump, I'd have the federal marshals down there arresting everybody in that state that actually approved that. And if they're Americans, I'd have them hung for treason. What the hell's going on in this country? We got a communist mayor in New York. Now we have Sharia law in Connecticut. I believe it's Connecticut. If I'm wrong, well, my apologies, but pretty sure it's Connecticut. What the hell's going on? We even elected a Democratic Socialist congressman here in Florida in one of the districts. What the hell's going on? Do something. And you wonder why I'm pissed. You know. And it ain't going to get any better, I guarantee you. And you're going to piss off the wrong person. It won't be me because I'm not in any condition to do anything. But you're going to piss off the wrong motherfucker, and they're going to start taking the law in their own hands. And I'll tell you what, I don't fucking care. Y'all get what you deserve. Fix it or reap the consequences. And that's all I got to say. So until next time, we'll see you.